On 1st January 2025, I embarked on a break from my day job in the form of 13 months of no pay leave. In that time, I've picked up some lessons, some reflections, and unfortunately, some regrets. I'm supposed to be returning to work this week, but instead, I've extended my leave. And I'll explain briefly why later. For this video, I want to share the 3 big things that I wish I knew at the start. They'll be very personal because they'll be related to my plans, my goals, and the things that I did or didn't do. But they're also universal lessons about time management, life priorities, and making memories. Let's start. Lesson number 1, choose your dopamine wisely. I once read that humans have 2 core motivations underlying our actions, love and fear. For example, loving crunchy, sugary food and therefore buying that bag of cookies, or fearing being looked down upon and therefore spending money on luxury goods. And so it would be useful to investigate what we love and fear, and it would be wise to love and fear only the things that should rightfully be so. To give a very simple example, it's easy to love the game Bejeweled, but maybe we shouldn't make it our aspiration to reach level 5000. We may commonly fear judgment from an imagined anonymous audience, but should we really fear or even care about what these strangers think to the extent that it stops us from doing something that we really want to do? From my own experience, I thought about the pressing need to choose my dopamine wisely because of YouTube. I realized that it was very fulfilling and gratifying to me to see my YouTube videos get views and comments. However, I eventually started to reflect about whether the dopamine from YouTube is really something that I should be spending my time and energy pursuing. Everything we do has an opportunity cost. The effort I spend on YouTube directly takes away my energy from doing other things that might be more beneficial to society and myself. And so, while I am still scripting, producing, and editing YouTube videos, I am slowing down my pace and I'm very clear-eyed about what I'm giving up to do so. So that's lesson number 1, choose your dopamine wisely and with eyes open. Lesson number 2 is about living in the moment and living for yourself. Traveling around the world is something that happens in a matter of hours, but reflecting on the journey and absorbing the experience is not something that happens within minutes. I found that with back-to-back travels, the lessons of the previous trip did not have time to sink in before I was running to the next itinerary. I think it will only become harder to live thoroughly and fully in the present. When we are constantly broadcasting life as we live it, we run the risk of commoditizing life's moments. When we translate life and package moments into publicly palatable sound bites, visual hooks, aesthetic photos, we filter our experiences as they happen and hang tightly onto the ones that are socially acceptable, easily understandable, and popularly upheld. As long as you create content out of your life, I think you'll always run the risk of choosing to do things based on what can be shared with others. And so that's my second lesson. Live in the moment and live for yourself. Now my next lesson, lesson number 3, is about time management, which is big rocks first. But how do you choose among big rocks? There are various time management strategies to help you prioritize what you spend time on. One is the matrix of important and time-sensitive items versus unimportant and non-urgent items. The other is the big rocks concept of scheduling your most important must-dos first and your good-to-dos last. But what happened to me, and something that I didn't anticipate, is when I had mutually exclusive big rocks. Yes, it's okay to have multiple goals and multiple big rocks, but in reality, we all have a finite amount of time, energy, and attention. And yes, ideally, I would have the ability to fit all of the big rocks in. However, for various reasons, I started prioritizing certain big rocks and deprioritizing others. For example, some big rocks were just easier to make immediate progress on, or were more immediately gratifying. Some big rocks were also opportunities from the outside, which might never return if I didn't seize them now. Ultimately, I learned that I needed to work hard to allocate limited resources of time, creativity, and energy, and balance carefully between different projects. I also reflected and realized that different projects have different payouts. Some projects might not have an immediate or even a guaranteed payout, but that doesn't mean they're worth any less of your effort. You need to be clear on what you want to achieve, and then have the commitment, discipline, and belief to go get it done. So in terms of my experience, looking back on 2025, there were a few goals that I had that were left to the side. But in 2026, I'm doing my best to remedy that. And I think I've gotten to a good start. I have a goal to practice and improve my writing. And in January alone, I published 6 short stories on my unpublicized but public blog. And I've also written 3 poems to submit to a local contest. There are 2 other things that I realized last year that I want to share with you. And I'd especially love to hear whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say next. So my first reflection is that I'm quite glum about my home country. It's depressing to feel that in Singapore, making money and spending money are the most important and most meaningful activities in life. It's even more depressing to see that that doesn't only affect the attitude that people have towards money, but it affects their personal relations with other people, their sense of self, and even what is the meaning of life. It's depressing to feel the cold calculation, the transactional ulterior motives, and the pragmatic lens that colors every interaction and relationship. On a separate note, in any other society, taking time off wouldn't be such a niche or abnormal thing to do. In Singapore, the gravitational pull of the mainstream path graph is very strong. The cost of living is high, and the opportunity cost of not constantly grinding away at the career hamster wheels is also high. What I'm saying is that I'm finding it very hard in Singapore to simply exist as a human being. We treat ourselves as economic units and we judge ourselves by the same measure. You would have to be very determined or very privileged or both to pursue your life's goals when they are at odds with the default pressures of maximizing your economic progress. My next personal reflection is about the flexibility of time and how precious it is. Now that my no-pay leave is closer to an end, I will greatly miss the ability to spend my time, my youth, exactly the way I want, without having my lunch hour prescribed or my leave requests rationed. I am well aware that we all need to make money somewhere somehow in order to do the things that we want to do. So what I am saying is that I will not chase status and money at all costs, because money can purchase happiness, but at what cost do we make this money? It's not an easy thing to balance, and I can only hope and trust that what I'm doing now is right for me right now. Ultimately, time is the most precious resource because once it's gone, it's not coming back. And so with all that, what is my conclusion about all this time spent? On the whole, I'm very happy that I took this gap year, and I'm very grateful to everyone who's allowed me and supported me. Shout out to my Buy Me a Coffee members and supporters. I definitely didn't achieve all of my dream goals. For example, I have not successfully transitioned out of office work and into work that supports my desire to work to my strengths. But I did achieve meaningful milestones, and I did attract and seize unanticipated opportunities along the way. Yes, things could always be better, but things could also always be worse. Life and time is what you make of it, and if today isn't a good day, there's always tomorrow. You can keep trying, keep pushing, keep pivoting. Tell me how it goes for you, and I wish you the best. So, if you've made it this far, let me briefly share why I'm extending my no-pay leave even more. There's two main reasons. I'm not mentally ready to go back to the grind, and I don't have an urgent need to trade the bulk of my waking hours for a monthly paycheck. I've mentioned it in my other video, but there are various reasons why maximizing my savings is not my main reason for living. One of which being that I have no aspirations of raising a family of my own, and my own family doesn't need me to support them. Two, I still want to find a grind that I love, that challenges me, and more importantly, makes use of my strengths and abilities. That's all I have to say in public. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my channel for free, please hit that like and subscribe button or leave a comment with advice from your own life experience. I'd love to hear it. To the ones that are